So many stories that have been made up about me. I've heard I've dated a father and son before. Not true? Absolutely not true.
But right now, people are speculating and saying that allegedly, Steve Harvey allowed Sean Combs to date Lori Harvey, his stepdaughter, in order for freak-off footages not to be released.
Diddy and Lori Harvey, they're heating things up in Italy. Notice her arm is on the back of his chair.
It's baby oil, all right? Praise the Lord, baby oil. Ever not include baby oil in your love life. You are missing one of the great inventions. Baby oil ain't really for babies.
Given that Lori name may be used during the Diddy trial, it appears that Steve Harvey is currently in a panic. She dated him, but that is not the only reason. Rumor has it that Lori did not fall in love with Diddy by chance. Lori was allegedly pressured to pursue him by Steve and Marjorie. According to sources, Marjorie has always had an obsession with marrying Lori off to a well-known person. Diddy was also their first choice. This is when things get wild. Were Steve and Marjorie genuinely aware of Diddy's covert activities? Given what we now know about Diddy's treatment of Cassie and other women, it begs the question of why Steve and Marjorie would advise Lori to approach him. The fact that Lori was close to Kim Porter is even more bizarre. Additionally, Kim frequently referred to Lori as if she were her daughter. Furthermore, the fact that Diddy and Lori are 27 years apart in age makes it much more unsettling. And here's the thing, Lori is also accused of meddling with Justin, Diddy's son. And since there are real pictures of Lori, Diddy, and her parents together on vacation, we can be positive that Steve and Marjorie approve of Lori's relationship with Diddy. Consequently, Steve and Marjorie were not content with it. They offered a lot of support, possibly even encouragement. However, what is the true reason for their desire for Lori to be with Diddy? Is it only about money and influence? Or perhaps Diddy is just forcing the Harveys to comply because he has some dirt on them? In any case, the entire issue is dubious. Let us investigate and find out the truth. All of the celebrities who had been close to Diddy for years are now frantically trying to hide their identities ever since his trial began, and Steve Harvey is one of them. The problem is that most people are unaware of how shady Steve's relationship with Diddy is. It goes beyond simple friendship or business. It all stems from Diddy's brief and tumultuous relationship with Lori, Steve's daughter. And as the trial progresses, the Harvey-Diddy connection appears to be far more intricate and messy than anyone had anticipated. This is the most bizarre aspect of Lori and Diddy's relationship. Only a few months after his ex-girlfriend Kim Porter passed away under extremely dubious circumstances, she began dating him. On November 15th, 2018, Kim unexpectedly died, formerly due to complications from pneumonia. Only a few months later, Diddy and Lori were photographed out and about looking somewhat intimate, which sparked relationship speculations.
There's Lori Harvey, you know, Steve Harvey's 22-year-old stepdaughter, in New York looking super happy. And there's Diddy looking, nervous.
So this is fueling the dating rumors that have been going on for a few weeks now.
Yeah, they've been hanging out. Saw her getting out of Diddy's car last week at Nobu.
According to Hot New Hip Hop, Diddy and Lori went to a reggae music event in Miami together in the first week of March 2019, around 3 months after Kim's death. Keep in mind that Diddy was 50 and Lori was 22 at the time. Lori's representative quickly jumped in to assure TMZ that there was nothing romantic going on when social media erupted with claims that she and Diddy were attending this event together. The problem is that Lori and Diddy continued to appear together in New York City over the summer of 2019 and appeared to be in a relationship. In July 2019, someone close to Lori told Hollywood Life that following Kim Porter's death, Lori and Diddy began to become close. However, the source asserted once more that it was merely friendship and that Lori, who was also close to Kim, was merely there to support Diddy in his grieving process. According to the source, Lori has been friends with the whole family for years, but she and Diddy have gotten a lot closer over the past 6 months or so, really since Kim's death, because Lori was very close to Kim too. She was grieving too, so she was really able to be there for Diddy in his grief. She uplifts him. This has been one of the hardest times of Diddy's life, if not the hardest, so anyone that can bring light into his life, he cherishes, and Lori has a way of making him smile. She makes him happy. They're good friends. The problem is that only 3 months after Kim's passing, Diddy and Lori went to a music festival together. After that, they also went to a strip club in Atlanta, according to TMZ. And all night long, Diddy was actually making it rain. Sure, everyone copes with bereavement differently, but come on, get this in a strip club. Diddy claimed to be going through one of the most difficult periods of his life at the time. Even if you are going through the most difficult period of your life, you are having a great time at a strip club with your new arm candy. Here's another incredibly unsettling aspect, yet it does not add up. This message Lori put on Instagram soon after Kim's death was recently unearthed by fans. She posted a picture of herself with Kim along with the words, "Rhea, having a hard time processing this one. You were such a beautiful person inside and out. Thank you for always being so sweet and loving to me. I'm so glad I told you how much I loved and missed you the last time I saw you. Your energy was truly something special. An angel on earth and now in heaven. R.I.P. Mama Kim." So let me clarify this. Kim Mama was called by Lori, but Lori started seeing Kim's baby daddy as soon as she passed away. Because what does Diddy think of Kim if she was like a mother to Lori? Even if Kim and Diddy were no longer together when she passed away, it is still really strange that Lori started seeing Diddy only 3 months later. Before Lori went public with Diddy, there were also reports that she had slept with Justin, Diddy's son, as if things could not get much messier. It is also noteworthy that Lori categorically denied dating Diddy and his son in an interview with Adrienne Bailon of E! News in January 2023, just after going public with her now ex, Damson Idris. However, if you pay close attention, Lori did not explicitly say that she did not date the father.
So many things get written about you in the press, but I've always wanted to know, what is like the biggest misconception about who Lori Harvey is?
It's so funny because I'm so quiet, there's been so many stories that have been made up about me. I've heard I've dated a father and son before.
Not true?
Absolutely not.
But there is a problem. You may now only discover little snippets of this interview if you delve far into social media, because E! News removed the entire interview from their official YouTube account. I do not know you all, but it appears that someone on the public relations team is putting in a lot of effort to remove any evidence of Lori and Diddy's romance. And by someone, I mean Marjorie and Steve Harvey. According to insiders, Lori's dating life was heavily influenced by these two, who may have even encouraged her to date one of the Combs guys. Given that they have been friends since the 1990s, it is quite difficult to accept that Steve was unaware of Diddy's true character. In addition, Lori and Diddy traveled to Italy with Steve and Marjorie in August 2019, and what everyone was already assuming was essentially verified by those pictures of Lori caressing Diddy's neck. What parent wants to witness their daughter, 22, kissing a man, 50? This whole thing is just plain strange and unsettling, and it is hilarious that while Steve Harvey is out there looking all haughty and preaching about how women should choose the perfect man, his own daughter ends up dating Diddy of all people. By the way, Lori's white nail polish is the one small element that has caused those pictures from the vacation to Italy to resurface on social media. As you recall, during those freak-off sessions with male former co-workers, Diddy forced Cassie to wear white nail lacquer, as she disclosed in her lawsuit. Naturally, this does not show Lori was engaged in any of that, but there are reports that she had a contract with Diddy as a girlfriend. And here's the thing, Steve and Marjorie are said to have arranged that deal. That is not all though. According to some reports, Steve may have been coerced into complying by Diddy, who supposedly used freak-off tape to blackmail him.
Speculating and saying that allegedly Steve Harvey allowed Sean Combs to date Lori Harvey, his stepdaughter, in order for freak-off footages not to be released. A lot of people were saying that Sean Combs allegedly has 90 terabytes or more of all his freak-off parties. They were saying that he used those as some sort of blackmail against other artists or other celebrities in order for them to keep their relationship and keep things going. A lot of people were saying that allegedly Steve Harvey may have allowed Lori Harvey and P. Diddy, and even people are saying Justin Combs, P. Diddy's son, had also dated Lori Harvey for a bit of time. Everybody denies that.
Additionally, Steve recently removed a number of tweets in which he made reference to Diddy, including one that said, "My brother Diddy is doing a world of good for these kids." It is likely that Steve was referring to the $1 million Diddy gave Howard University in 2016 to establish the Sean Combs Scholarship Fund. However, what is the point of removing the tweet? Eliminating it only serves to increase his guilt, if anything. Scrubbing tweets will not make people forget that Steve was okay with with Diddy, as everyone already knows. It only makes people question what he is trying to conceal and raises additional suspicions. The exact testimony given in a federal courtroom during Sean Diddy Combs' trial. Imagine a federal courtroom full of reporters and silent. Samuel L. Jackson is summoned by the bailiff and proceeds to the witness box. He is not here to recite lines from movies. He is here to expose two of the most powerful figures in black entertainment. Comedy mogul Steve Harvey, who is accused of supporting the culture that kept the operation secret, and Sean Diddy Combs, who is on trial for a trafficking and intimidation criminal organization. According to Jackson's testimony, there is a pattern of bullying that dates back decades, new legal lawsuits that are threatening Steve's business, and Lori Harvey's contentious relationship with Diddy. Jackson's first sworn statement, explosive phone logs, and a covert body cam film that lands in the gallery like a grenade are all documented in the next 20 minutes. Reputations and even freedom are at stake by the time the gavel falls. It was never intended for Samuel L. Jackson to be close to the stand. Bodyguards, music executives, and a rotating cast of devastated ex-partners have been at the center of the courtroom drama from the start of the Combs-Harvey racketeering obstruction trial. However, on the 7th morning of testimony, the man whose gravel-rich voice has sold more tickets at the box office than anybody alive unsealed and enstrolled a sealed subpoena that had been discreetly requested by federal prosecutors. Reporters anticipated a few character lines and perhaps a brief statement about the culture of the sector. Instead, they received a 45-minute timeline that connected the monetization of young black women under the polite euphemism of mentoring, Sean Diddy Combs' unbridled domination, and Steve Harvey's social ascending. Jackson started off by describing why he actually had the texts, DMs, emails, and receipts. He claimed to have made a vow to his then newborn daughter Zoe 23 years prior that he would never entrust her safety to the same Hollywood pipeline that asphyxiates souls at one end and sells dreams at the other. He became a quiet archivist as a result of that promise. To shield his own child from the revolving door predators who wore producer titles as armor, he gathered whispers, saved screenshots, and created a private timeline of who did what to whom. Jackson testified in 2018 that following a closed set night shot in Brooklyn, a Shaft assistant handed him a USB disc. There was a brief audio recording of Steve Harvey's voice guiding Lori through what Jackson called a high-value etiquette package. One of the lines was, "Remember that a mogul is your board of directors, not your lover." Presuming it was cynical fatherly advice, Jackson saved it. Another file came in a month later, this time from a bad boy entertainment engineer. It was a videotape from Studio Kitchen showing Diddy laughing at Harvey's expense while dictating Lori's public attire. Jackson started highlighting the content by date and comparing flight logs after spotting a pattern that had destroyed 6 of his proteges. He realized that the authorities would want more than just rumors if the pattern ever descended into violence, so he produced it on the stand. According to one document, Harvey sent Diddy an NDA template called Lifestyle Partnership. Another showed a voice memo in which Diddy contacts Lori to collect the retainer fee for the green room. In his deep baritone, Jackson read these lines out loud, characterizing them as receipts that demonstrate cross-coastal power trafficking rather than human trafficking, professional predatory behavior, and parental irresponsibility. However, persons were also trafficked. The gallery let forth a gasp. Judge Ramirez even arched an eyebrow. Harvey, meantime, sat behind defense lawyers and gazed at the table as though the grain in the wood may provide a trapdoor. Cross-examination by Jackson just made the sword sharper. Whitcomb, the defense lawyer, attempted to imply that Jackson had resentment over not signing with Bad Boy Movies years before. Jackson laughed in response. "Since the screenplay called for me to slap a 21-year-old intern, sir, I declined that cameo. As it happens, the filmmaker simply altered the scene to reflect reality." The jury laughed. It was upheld by the judge. Samuel developed one last bombshell, an encrypted signal discussion in which a senior Harvey official boasted when Whitcomb suggested Jackson was repeating online rumors. Prosecutors asked Jackson to explain the 8-step grooming ladder he had mentioned in pre-trial interviews to the jury after lunch. The actor complied, opening a leather-bound notepad he had nicknamed the Red Ledger, a practice he had developed while working on Jurassic Park in 1993. He clarified that the first step was to get access through appreciation. A live trophy is when an older gatekeeper spots a gifted child and publicly commends them. Co-branding, the second step, transforms appreciation into commercial closeness. Father's Day social media posts, stage walk-ons, and matching attire at events. By the third stage, exclusivity, parents take on managerial responsibilities. Outside the circle, phone digits discreetly vanish. These actions were in line with Lori's schedule, according to Jackson. The Harvey radio broadcast from 2017 that praised Diddy as the model for black entrepreneurship was the first. After 6 weeks, Lori's modeling schedule was inexplicably freed up to allow her to observe bad boy employees in Los Angeles. That is the second step, Jackson remarked. The stage of co-branding. He then showed a line of emails in which Harvey's assistant requested that Lori be pulled from a planned photo shoot in Dubai by Vogue Arabia. Responsibilities to the family. This, according to the prosecution, was the exclusivity clamp. Jackson, however, continued after 2017. He went back to 1995, long before Lori was born, to demonstrate how Uptown Records politics led to Steve Harvey's involvement with Diddy's network. According to Jackson's testimony, a teenage Steve struck a back-of-tour bus agreement with Kirk Burroughs, a promoter in Uptown, softball interviews with up-and-coming hip-hop artists in return for free stand-up performances. Jackson clarified that the barter system transformed comedians into brand ambassadors and journalists into lobbyists. In 2006, Harvey met Marjorie, who was the former spouse of Memphis drug boss Jim Townsend. Jackson said that an entertainment corridor used to launder live performance proceeds through Atlanta's boutique fashion houses was mentioned in Townsend's sealed plea deal. The docket number was produced by Jackson. It was admitted into evidence by the prosecution. Then the shocker arrived. Jackson claimed that males like Diddy were able to change their image from nightclub moguls to amiable benefactors during the day because to Harvey's syndicated talk program, he played a snippet of Harvey's 2013 episode in which Diddy, days after TMZ revealed video of him hurling a kettlebell at a UCLA coach, marketed his charter school organization. The monitor shouted with the live studio applause. Stone-faced, the jury watched in the courtroom. The Dragnet history lesson was criticized by defense attorneys as Hollywood tattle. Judge Ramirez overruled, pointing out that trends are important to RICO statutes. Jackson read from a 2020 Christmas card purportedly sent by Diddy to Steve and Marjorie to wrap out Chapter 2. The best brand alignment is found in the internal inscription, family. Let us continue making investments. Jackson said, that is step 8, full-scale commodification of bloodlines. After closing the card and glancing at the jury, there were gasps. The stenographer took a moment to change papers. If the emails and notes startled the audience, nothing could have prepared them for what Jackson called the real, a carefully assembled compilation of personal footage he said he had obtained over a 15-year period from many industry whistleblowers. The lights were dimmed by the prosecutors. Behind the witness box, a single screen lowered. Jackson provided context for each segment by narrating live. The first clip is a blurry iPhone video taken from a yacht off St. Barth's in 2009. Diddy, Steve Harvey, and 2 anonymous executives raise a glass of champagne as a young woman, identified by prosecutors as 12-year-old Lori, practices a dance on the deck under the guidance of an unidentified female voice. Jackson pointed to Harvey's smile and froze the picture. At that point, a father turns into a recruiter. The second clip cut to the backstage area of the 2015 BET Awards. 18-year-old Lori is seated in a cosmetics chair. Daddy says Puff will be here in 5. A stylist murmurs. All right, says Lori, make me look older. The jurors was asked to observe the forced maturity by Jackson. The third and most unsettling clip, taken in March 2019, showed a Soho penthouse kitchen. Diddy is directing a private chef to plate the oysters sexily while standing shirtless. She will devour my chain. Off camera, Lori responds, "Unk, you wild," with a frightened giggle. This is messed up, the chef murmurs as he peers into the lens and rolls his eyes. Jackson hesitated. Ladies and gents, after seeing my UNCF speech on protecting daughters, the chef resigned the following morning and DM'd me. The chef attested the clip with a sworn affidavit. It became part of the evidence. The fourth clip undermined Steve Harvey's professed devoutness. It displayed a Zoom practice for his motivational tour in 2021. Harvey joked to a producer, "Am not no preaching without tithes, honey," believing that the recording was off. There is no distinction between a revolt deal and the church plate. Then he boasted that Lori's LLC received an honorarium from Diddy. Before delivering the quote to the courtroom, Jackson allowed it to marinate. The transactional foundation of grooming is that. A number of jurors avoided looking at the defense table when the lights came up. Did he scrawl in rage? Harvey wiped away his perspiration. Jackson presented the dagger as prosecutors rested their audiovisual evidence. Zoe Jackson's sworn statement, which was filed under seal but was described out loud, stated that her father's watchfulness prevented me from being sucked down by the pipeline that sucked shocked others. The defense attempted a Hail Mary, suggesting that Jackson had altered the recordings. The Atlanta location of Steve Harvey's syndicated radio show is seen on the left. A collection of calls from Harvey's personal number that were allegedly on air and bounced off Anguilla Towers can be seen on the right. Jackson simply stated that pre-recorded pieces were broadcast in order for the host to accompany his daughter on Mr. Combs' yacht. The judge overruled the defense attorney's speculative objection, stating that the phone records were admissible. Jackson never broke his tone. The question is no longer whether these trips happened, he informed the jury, just closing the folder. What did a comedy legend and a 50-year-old mogul seek to gain by concealing them? Spectators murmured that Part 4 resembled an IRS forensic audit more than testimony by the time the court adjourned for lunch. A famous friendship was transformed into a purported trafficking pipeline by the flight log, and Samuel L. Jackson came out of it as a careful truth teller rather than as a member of Hollywood royalty. Following lunch, a technician rolled in a 50-inch display, the lights went down, and Samuel, who was now seated, held a thin remote control. With cautious caution, he introduced the clip. 2 weeks prior to Lori Harvey's 22nd birthday, on September 3rd, 2018, this photo was taken. Mr. Combs' security emails take place in White Rabbit, a rental home off Martha's Vineyard. The courtroom was silently covered by a gas station. Jackson hit the play button. A poolside cabana appears on screen in a blurry night vision frame. A security camera put on the wall was suggested by the lens angle. The dialogue was muted by subtitles. First, Diddy's voice was heard. "Fahim, pass me the Louis Vuitton bag." In keeping with the prior witness who had mispronounced the notorious security chief's name, Jackson emphasized, "Yes, Fahim with a double E." Then Steve Harvey, a distinctive baritone, laughed, "You crazy puff." The sound of ice rustling. As the audio crackled with generator noise, the subtitles flickered, "Rinse her, then send her to makeup." Even though the film lasted only 45 seconds, the implications were explosive. Upon its conclusion, a marshal had to silence onlookers who burst into cynical muttering. Jackson did not take pride. He created a chain of custody with composure. After discovering that Harvey's crew had neglected to turn off the cabana camera, a previous manager of a grape estate offered the drive. Jackson clarified how Cassia and Dawn were matched with the term "rinse her," Diddy's post-freak-off ritual as described by Richard. Before re-emerging camera-ready, women were instructed to take showers with eucalyptus oil. The appearance of Steve Harvey was even more unsettling. The motivational kingpin appears to be complicit in addition to being aware of it, just a few feet away from a bag that contained prepaid Visa cards and benzodiazepines and was later confiscated by Homeland Security. During cross, the defense attempted salvaging operations. They questioned the integrity of the time code, proposed deepfake manipulation, and speculated that Harvey might have been a comedic skit hologram. Every time a hologram emerged, the jurors remained stony-faced and scribbled notes without biting. Samuel L. Unfazed, Jackson reminded the court that Venmo logs revealed a $4,800 payment from Harvey's LLC to the same estate for extended checkout, and phone metadata had put Harvey on Martha's Vineyard that evening. The morning following the Vineyard event, Jackson reads a text message from Lori to a friend, and Puff remarks, "My smile is rated gold. My father is always teaching me that ownership is crucial. I feel like a piece of property. When the bailiff announced the mid-afternoon recess, nobody moved." There was more to the Vineyard tape than hearsay. The trial was skewed by a 12-minute broadcast that was a visual indictment of the very family values Steve Harvey promotes in his best-selling books. Samuel turned to motive after returning from recess. He referred to the vague clause hidden in Steve Harvey's 2017 multi-platform agreement with Endeavor Content as the wean-in clause. Jackson displayed a contract sheet that had been redlined. The first look rights to Harvey-branded faith-based dramas were handed to Endeavor under paragraph 16C, with a profit-sharing arrangement superseding cross-financing by strategic partners in the Combs Entertainment portfolio. In other words, Diddy-approved financial infusions would determine whether Harvey's fledgling streaming company succeeded or failed. Jackson carefully explained to the jurors the practical implications of the provision. In 2019, a documentary series about modern-day gospel ensembles came to a standstill until Bad Boy Ventures sent $2 million. Only after the network insisted on renaming the show Sunday Service Legacy of Praise to fit with Kanye's choir brand, another connection to Diddy's broader sphere of influence, did the show ultimately debut on a fast channel that Diddy supported. What did did Lori have to do with this? In order to earn future renewal tranches, Harvey's business manager advised Steve to maintain impeccable optics with Mr. Combs, according to emails that Samuel presented. A screenshot displays on the monitor in the courtroom. Diddy to Harvey. On the warpath is Sam. Bring up the issue of the NDA with your girl. The gallery bursts into action. For order, Morales gavels. The defense raises objections, but the judge permits a limited amount of debate after verifying metadata in camera. It is used by Ramirez to support his claim of guilt consciousness. Diddy hired Harvey to keep quiet because he was afraid of being exposed. Jackson makes a direct appeal at the end of his testimony. Although I cannot reverse what these men did, I can ensure that it will not be concealed beneath royalties or ratings in the future. Reporters scramble toward the corridor as he steps down. Stone-faced, Diddy murmurs advice. Harvey looks at the floor while being subpoenaed. Commentators outside call it a tectonic change day. Diddy Tunes' playlist numbers fall precipitously. Advertisers covertly purchase advertisements from properties bearing the Harvey brand. In the meantime, hashtags explode on social media. Pay attention to Sam, keep black daughters safe. There is no more silence. Instead of being sequestered inside the courthouse, the jury departs with marshals on either side of them, their eyes wide, carrying notepads filled with quotes that will influence their deliberations. To track out the money path, the government will call in financial forensics specialists tomorrow. However, everyone is aware that the actual money has already been exchanged. The unadulterated authority of an elder statesman who is not hesitant to destroy long-standing friendships in the name of responsibility. Sean Diddy Combs' trial is getting closer to a verdict that might change the story of parental failure and celebrity power for a generation, and his final powerful statement is still reverberating beneath the vaulted ceiling.